and welcome to the Hot Nerd Network. I'm First Phil,
And I'm First PG.
and we are. This is the first word, and we are doing a recap of Invincible season 2, episode 1. And so, Phil, we always go back and forth on this. Do you want to do a recap? You want me to do a recap, or what do you want to do?
I mean, we already have a formula, so you go ahead with the recap. Oh, wait. So are we recapping season one? Or are we recapping?
Season
Episode,
2.
oh, okay.
We're doing season 2, episode 1, and because um, just so the people who have been following us, we tried something different here at the first word, where we did, instead of us going back over season 1, we split it up into little tidbits, and so that you can see it. Our animated alter egos were kind of narrating season 1. So what we're going to be doing now is just going into season 2. And so season 2, episode 1, I'll take it. So what happened here was very, very interesting. We started off with, it was very, unless you caught it, you didn't really see, but we started off with Mark and Omni Man. Actually, Mark is bought into Omni Man and the Viltrom Empire taking over, and you see him going through and just and killing people and bringing them on board, and there's a lot of propaganda, and then you see them take out this resistance network, and it was really, 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 really. Um, you saw that Mark, well, Invincible. He Eve now in this. We've come to find out with this alternate universe. Eve's now have her hair shaven. She got the scar marks, and Mark says, "Oh, of course I would never kill you, Eve." Then he kind of chokes her and breaks her neck. And we said, he actually in this particular portion is now taking on the persona of a father, as that these humans are just um, the humans are just what do we would call it, pets. So, but then we see that that was an alternate universe. So we get introduced to this new. Well, I guess he's new because he was from the last season. But this character Angstrom, and he has the ability to bring in multiple universes, and going with this kind of Marvel spinoff, kind of stealing multiverse type thing. And we see him free the Muller twins, and the Muller twins help him out with a plot where it wants to go and bring information amongst himself, and then try to help tons of people, with trillions of billions of people, by because every little universe has a little bit something like curing a common cold, curing cancer, and he wants to be able to bring all this to the multiverse. But we see that the Cecil has the twins under the Muller twins under surveillance, and he sends Mark in, and he sends Mark, and Mark has been buying his time back on our universe. Mark has been buying his time trying to figure out how he fits in. Is he really a superhero? He just seems kind of shallow. So he asks Cecil, "Hey, put me back in the game. I'll follow your rules." So Cecil sends him in to take out the Muller twins. And when he does send them in, it goes really bad. And Armstrong, he then doesn't want. He brings in other Muller's twins from different universes to stop Invincible, and then this causes the whole experiment to blow up and kill everyone except for one Muller. So that was a quick recap of. Did I miss anything from episode 1, season 2?
Not necessarily. I think you hit all the key points. I think um, also the missing aspect is Mark's mother. She's grieving,
Mm-hmm.
not because Omni Man has passed um, or been killed, but because of the way he treated her and Mark, and how she had one thought of how her marriage and this man were, and come to find out it was totally different.
Yeah,
Uh, so that was a really really, I think, a really big part of this particular episode.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, I totally missed that. Yeah, that is really central because you see that Omni Man leaving and him calling her his pet,
Hmm.
and 20 years of marriage, she's just like, what the fuck, so
Right,
it's so
right.
she's and all the people that she come to find out all these people he killed, and how do you love a person who killed so many people? So yeah, that was a really
Right.
good plot point that they're really leaning into. I thought that was pretty cool.
Hmm.
So you're up next. What is your favorite moment? If there was a moment that was most favorable to you in episode one, season two, episode one, what was your favorable moment? What was your most favorite moment?
So, um, I guess everyone is getting into this whole different multiverse thing. I know Marvel's doing it,
Yeah,
DC is doing it. Um, so everybody, I guess Amazon, they're doing it with their different platforms. Um, so I guess in previous times, this would have been a revelation because um, the only time you've really seen multi dimensions is when the X Men Days of Future Past.
yeah,
Um, we really had that was like or in DC you had Crisis on Infinite Earths.
yeah,
So this is where we're just getting introduced. So I it's kind of overdone
yeah,
by now.
yeah. Hmm.
The shock factor has worn off a little bit because had it not been for the multitude of different multiverse themes, I think freeing the Muller twins would have been my number one my number one.
I do love the Butler twins.
Just because with the Muller twins, you never think the common play or the common joke between the Muller twins is that neither one of them knows who's the clone and who's the original. So so my favorite character, right? Favorite
Yeah,
character.
no, favorite moment, favorite moment. It could be character,
My favorite moment is when the Muller twins they haven't gotten free yet. They're still in prison,
right?
and the guard comes to feed them, and the guard that is feeding them or brings them their food. He's like, my brother could have ripped your arms off, and it's just uh, the constant back and forth between the Muller twins because yes, they're locked up in prison, but they are still trying to, come up with a way to get free. I just love the Muller twins. So if I had a favorite moment in this episode, it's definitely when the Muller twins were in prison. They hadn't get, broken free just yet. They were still in prison, and they
Right.
were messing with the guard. I think that was my favorite moment. I took a lot from that.
It's kind of funny, and I love, that we're so in sync because I'm loving the Mullen twins.
Hmm.
Because they bring that evil,
Hmm.
but they self gratifying, self grandizing
Yeah.
role to this. And one of my favorite moment, it is the Mullen twins. It wasn't breaking them out. It was
Hmm.
when they were talking to Armstrong and said, Armstrong, I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but
Hmm.
um they said, well, we want to go to a universe where we are gods and there's
Right.
no other superheroes. I like that part. I like that part. He said, "We are gods, and there's no other superheroes."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, I'll send you there if you promise not to kill nobody." Like, okay,
Okay. All right.
come on. This is just this relationship is just ripe for somebody to betray the other person. So that
Absolutely.
that was my favorite moment. I love that moment. And just to keep it going, what is your impression and reaction to episode one for season two? What's your impression and reaction?
So I think, first of all, with this, I I have to admit I did not read the books, so I'm going through this with no previous knowledge. Just seeing what I've seen in season one, and then so far with season two.
Hmm.
Um, the impression I have, I'm still in absolute awe and absolute shock because the last we seen of Invincible was him getting pounded by his dad. Him getting
Right.
pulverized by his
Polarized. Whew.
dad. And in that image, and then it actually they and this is where I think they did a beautiful job where okay, so that scene was the end of season one,
Right.
but Mark still hasn't gotten over it. And going into season two, he's still replaying parts of it in his mind.
Right.
He's still visiting the site that him and his dad fought. Um, I so I this season, the kickoff to this season, it resonates mainly because, like I said, that lasting image that we had, the Omni Man. I think the shock factor to find out who Omni Man really was, what his intentions were, the shock factor for it to carry over for a whole nother season, and then to see how it plays out not only with Mark, but with Mark's mother, with Cecil, with the rest of the Guardians. Um, well, not the rest of the Guardians, with Immortal, the
Yeah,
Immortal.
the mortal. Mm-hmm.
It's just how it had a ripple effect. And again, this is only episode one, and we see how that last image that we had, or the last episode of season one, how it had such a ripple effect that we still see those effects in season two, episode one. Um, so I just think that's huge. I really don't think when you have a lot of season finales and you go to another season, you have to do a lot of recapping, a lot of refreshing the audience's memory. But with this, I mean, that ending was so brutal and so shocking that it's like the creators or the writers didn't want us to forget those
Right.
lasting images. They
Yes.
wanted us to still remember how brutal, how methodical, how cold Omni Man really is, even going into this new episode. So, um, so yeah, that's mine. What about you?
Well, I was just putting it up here. Is I think the last time we saw this was
Hmm.
at the it was 2021, 2022 ish.
Right.
And so for this to be built back up, this one particular episode, I was not let down
Hmm.
from this episode because, like you said, it just kept the momentum going when it comes to the action scenes. Like I said, from Mark trying to figure out how to be a superhero, from the whole Miller twins thing, the fighting, just the pure blood. I mean, this show
It's very gory.
it's
Very
very.
gory.
I mean, you look at the hands, and the hands are bleeding. Like, and when they rip people's heads off, like, like in the alternate universe when they were killing and poor mortal. Homeboy's just been getting hit. I mean, you know what? We should do a tally this year, or how many times or immortal gets killed in particular. This so far we have in episode one. I'm gonna do that in
Okay.
episode one. Immortal's got killed one time so far. So we're gonna have to keep a running count on how many times because season one he got killed multiple times. So, but they did they kept up with they kept up with the energy, and they came out with a bang, and I like that. That was my first impression. My reaction is like good. It wasn't a low. They kept it up high. Now I do know just because there are always dips and valleys, and as we backstories that we as consumers of this type of genre, we know there's always dips and backstories, and you need them to tell a more richer and get a more layered perspective of what's going on. But for this episode, this was episode one, I definitely like it because it kept up the high energy level.
Now, I also the impression that so we had the shock factor from uh, the ending of season one, but
Hmm.
then I also appreciate the twist that they're showing us where Mark becomes evil because
Yeah.
we always have those um, kind of thoughts where what if Superman and
Yeah.
Jonathan Kent, what if they turn evil? What if Batman and Robin were villains? Those type of thoughts, and then here not only do we get a clear glimpse of what could be, or what could have been, or what could be, I guess, because we're still in the present, what could be, but it's the carelessness, the coldness that has transferred from Omni Man down to Mark. Like you said, when because to have to do what he did to the alternate Eve, where he paralyzed her on purpose. Um, it was just it was shocking because we're not used to seeing Mark in that way.
Right.
Uh, so it was extremely shocking, but I like that. Yeah,
Right.
I like a little bit of chaos because it throws me off. Because again, I haven't read any of the books, so I went into this thinking that this was going to be Omni Man's character arc where he was a
Mm-hmm.
villain and now
Mm-hmm.
he's going to become a hero again, and then Mark is going to be his savant to bring him back into hero status, and they took it totally left, and they're like, no, Mark not only is Omni Man evil, but he got his son to come over to the dark side too, and they just made Earth basically their playground.
Their playground. Yeah. Yeah. You just,
Anything goes.
and if I was, I mean, Amazon, if I was Marvel, I would be pissed off. I mean, you can't steal it, you can't copyright an idea, but I remember, like I said, you brought up X-Men. I remember back when X-Men said, "What if the Phoenix had lived?"
Right.
And then that was like, ooh, but it was
Hmm.
such a limited series, and then they moved on. But like you
Hmm.
said just a while ago, everyone's doing it. But so let's not get too cheap into it. And at first, when I saw that alternate universe, I was like, that's what's going on. And I like what they did with it. It's just I just hope they don't get lazy with it because it's easy to go, but it does, order more because I like comics kind of mirror life and life mirrors comics. That one of the things is that, but for this, we all would turn out a different way. This little nudge. You meet
Hmm.
somebody here, this right here, and who says what path we would take if something else didn't intervene. So,
Right.
yeah, that was a good so I'll take the next one, the plot analysis.
Hmm.
I think we just rolled right into it. This plot analysis was just keeping up with what happened in the last, I think it was episode 8, season 1. And
Hmm.
so we just finished talking about it, but it did set you up for what has been happening in the interim. Mark Heals, and my goodness, Invincible. I mean, he healed. I mean, you see, he gets his ass kicked a lot, but
Right.
he heals pretty fast. I mean, and even in this explosion, it was such a massive explosion. Rudy, so I guess you are invincible,
Hmm.
because he survived this explosion. He survives a lot of. I mean, he survived Omni. His father beating his ass. So, but the plot analysis, I think we just talked about it, and it's just to me it was just a setup. It is episode 1, so it's a setup for things to come because they left a little bit. I'm gonna keep going. I don't want to jump ahead, but it's coming up. But they're putting some little things out there for us to look at and look forward to in the next couple of episodes. So
So
now
I'm actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, no, go ahead, go ahead.
So, so with this particular plot in this episode, I think it's a great contrast to, and you get to see not only um, the results or the after effects of last season, but you also get the compare and contrast
Yeah,
because um, we get to see how impressionable Omni Man is to Mark
right.
in one way, and then you get to see how impressionable Mark is to Omni Man in another way.
Yeah.
So um, a lot of people don't understand, especially you. Okay, being a dad, you have certain reservations, you have certain feelings, certain emotions about your son,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's your only son. You have certain feelings, certain emotions, and So that's on the dad side. But as a
Right.
son, it's like, because Mark kept, flashing back his dad's going to his baseball, dad's at his baseball games, um, teaching him how to ride a bike, there's teaching him how to fly, um, all the kind of stuff with his powers and all of that interaction between them, and you can actually see without, and this is without any dialogue, you can see the emotional toll that it takes on Mark because
Right.
first of all, Mark is only 17, 18 years old. He's
Right.
just
Right.
he's
Just
just
high school.
graduating
Yeah.
high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then okay, so that's in, I want to call it the good universe. The good universe, he's graduating high school, he has friends, he has the family, the he has his team, uh, all these different things going for him. But when he is in the alternate universe or the bad universe, it's him and Omni-Man, and they're basically standalones. It's them against everybody else, and you can just see how, again, how impressionable Omni-Man is to Mark, but also how impressionable Mark is to Omni-Man. Because again, Omni-Man, if you want to be technical, he could have finished the job.
Right. Right.
Mark
Right. Right.
hasn't developed his powers fully, but as we see, like as you just mentioned, he's getting stronger. He his Vitramite powers are evolving a little bit
Mm-hmm.
faster, but still, you don't. It's something about having the comfort of your dad there to guide you along the way. Um, and I think that the good Mark is missing that.
Yeah.
And the plot is that we get to see the results of that. We get to see, you know, in before Omni Man's attack on Mark, we got to see how basically Omni Man led Mark to be
Mm-hmm.
who he was, and now that he's found out who his father really is, it's kind of deterred him. Where it's like before he wanted to be Omni Man.
Right.
Now he's trying to prove that he's not Omni
Right.
Man.
Right. Right.
So I think that was that. If I had to break it down to one plot point, I think that this episode, it was Mark trying to prove that, hey, I'm the Omni Man.
Right. Well, and I agree with you. So I didn't want to jump, but we were one of the things that we had just started going to character highlights.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna ask you again, who is your favorite? What was your favorite character? I think we already know, but and you just finished talking about. But is there any other than the Mullers and Invincible himself and Mark and his mother? Was there any other character that stood out to you?
I think it's two.
All right,
I think it's two. Okay, so my first is Cecil. That's the easy. Oh, that's the easy one for me,
right,
uh, because I think I think there's a little bit more to Cecil than what he's leading off to be,
mm-hmm,
because he has worked hand in hand with the rest of the Guardians, and he worked close with Omni Man, but then also. I think I have a feeling that he is trying to play on Mark's feelings and emotions because he knows that Mark has a tangible, broken mentality when he comes to Omni Man. But instead of letting him grieve through that or figure out that process, he's preying on it.
right, yes,
Almost like a reverse Jedi mind trick. Oh, you're not ready, kid. Why don't you go, be a kid and enjoy your friends and let the big
let
boys
the big
handle
boys
it.
up. Mm-hmm.
And but secretly he's actually recruiting Mark because
Yeah,
Mark even said it a couple of times. I got to be on guard. I gotta make sure Cecil knows I'm serious, or all these type of different things. So I think Cecil. I got to keep an eye on Cecil, but we're not paying. I don't think something hasn't been revealed yet when it comes to Cecil. I just think that he's preying on Mark's feelings, preying on Mark's emotions. I don't think he really has Mark's true intentions
no, yeah,
at heart.
yeah, 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 yeah. He does it. So my I like the new guy, other than the main guys, is the joning and
Hmm.
the go back and forth between Bulletproof
Hmm.
and Rexplode. You know, he says, "Is that a child? You know, where did that name come from?" I mean,
Right.
who? Because you see Rex, you can see definitely Rudy. Rex is he is intimidated. He goes, "Ooh, Bulletproof, such a unique name." And Bulletproof said, "Well, Rex Blood. I mean, is that something that you came when you were a kid?" I
Right.
yeah, I like that. I like that because I mean, I like those little tidbits,
Yes,
and you know, and again, I love when they develop other characters to go along with it. So yeah, I like that.
absolutely, absolutely.
So you know, as we keep cruising along here, I'm going to go with. I'm going to take this one.
Okay.
Unanswered questions.
Ooh.
When we
Okay.
last saw Donald,
Hmm.
Omni Man had grabbed him by his spine and
Hmm.
he yelled to Cecil, "It's been a pleasure working with you, sir." And it hit a button and blew the house up next, you know, across the street from Omni Man's home, you know, in Mark's house.
Hmm.
Then we see Donald back again. I'm like, oh, what the hell?
Right.
What the hell is going on with Donald? And
Hmm.
so that's the unanswered question. I want to know. Okay, what the hell's going on with Donald?
Hmm.
That because we he clearly not survived that explosion.
Right.
And okay, let's go. Okay, all right. By some miracle, he did. He should be walking because Iron Man grabbed him by his spine and crushed his spine. So yeah, that's what. What about you? You have any unanswered questions?
So there's a
Go ahead.
couple.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the main one I had is how you know. So a thing I always wanted to keep an eye on was Rudy or Robot. I wanted to keep an eye on Robot just because I felt like in season one there were kind of like villainous tendencies when it
Yeah.
came to Robot.
Yeah.
Um, Anytime you have, especially in this day and age when we're dealing with AI and blah 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 blah, I thought that the fact that he was transferring his subconscious into a new body, I thought that had some kind of villainous recipe written all
Mm-hmm.
over it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we don't know the effect, the true effects, because inside of the robot, Rui is just a regular 11-year-old kid. He's inside of a robot, but he doesn't really have powers.
Right.
He's actually, just using like an Iron Man suit, if you will.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's one. The two is the big unanswered question to me for me is the when Mark went on Mars,
Yeah.
what's going to be the layout for what's going to how's that going to play out in the future with not only him going to Mars, but the potential of that whatever species of alien that was coming back to Earth, what kind of ripple effect is that going to have? Because it
Right.
hasn't
Right.
played out truly just yet. So that's the other unanswered question. I think for the most part, and the biggest question of all, the biggest question, what happened to Omni Man? Where did Omni Man go?
Yeah. Where'd he go? Yeah. Yeah. Where'd he
So
go? Right.
the
Right.
last time we seen him, he was flying off into space, but we didn't see where he went. If he's coming back, none of that stuff. So those are my big three. But I
Yeah.
I,
Those are some
I
good
think
ones.
I
Yeah.
think I think we will eventually see um, Omni Man again. But I do my big one of the other biggest questions I had is definitely what's going to happen with the alien or the species that came back from Mars.
Yeah. Um. So you just get all the big ones. So next thing I know. Next thing I want to ask you is they didn't have it so far.
Hmm.
They didn't have it, but at the end, which again a ripoff from Marvel, is
Hmm.
at the end you got to keep watching through the credits or just at the credits because at
Hmm.
the end, you know, we have the one Muller twin who did survive, and you see Armstrong, you know, teleport off somewhere, you know, so. again, that's at the end. So what's going on with that? Because by them leaving one of the Muller twins alive and with their cloning technology and their intellect, they're gonna come back he's gonna clone himself again, transfer his conscience to a body that's not mutilated, and he's gonna come back with more vengeance than ever. And it was a little little tidbit there. He come to find out that in other multiverses that that Omni Man and Immortal took over Earth.
Mhm.
So he's like, yeah, they call us the bad guys. I like that line.
Mhm.
So for me, that's something not a. It's kind of it's too early for a cliffhanger. But do you see any cliffhangers, or that's kind of does that kind of mix with unanswered questions a little bit?
So I think as a cliffhanger, well, definitely it's only episode one, so
Right.
we're gonna have some unanswered questions because we still have a couple of episodes to go. But I think another cliffhanger slash unanswered question is so the Omni Man we already know he killed the whole Guardians team except for Immortal. They brought Immortal back. But the biggest question is, so what are the after effects of that? Because some of the Guardians, they were some really heavy hitters. Um, you had the speedster who had a wife.
Mm-hmm.
The and it's I think it's completely hilarious how Invincible has a parallel to each member of the Justice League. I just thought that was kind of funny, but either way, um,
Yeah. If you did, Amazon's just ripping off everybody. They're just ripping everything off.
I find that hilarious each time. Um, but you just have what are going to be the ripple effects through the Guardians? Because again, the world doesn't know. The world knows that the Guardians are dead, but they don't know that it was Omni Man who
Omni
killed
Man,
them.
right?
And then not only that, but Omni Man is the savior. He's Superman basically.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think that if you want to say unanswered question, but what are going to be the ripple effects? Because they're always, you have the human population, the human civilization can turn on this guy at the
Mm-hmm.
at the at the whim, and then again you have these two parallels where you have Evil Mark and Omni Man going in this universe. That world or those universes already hate them,
Right.
because
Right.
they're tyrants.
Right.
Whereas both Omni-Man and Mark in our universe, they are praised, are beloved. So what are going to be the ripple effects when when civilization finds out that Omni-Man was the killer of the Guardians?
Yeah. Right. Ooh. Um. As we started, again, we always. It's only we go so fast as we talk. It's so good. Um.
Mhm.
You have any? Okay. Are you gonna bring back? I'm gonna let you go first. Your theories and predictions. Now, for those who don't, who this is your first time coming to the first word, first PV has a dark side. You should. I'm gonna not gonna spoil it, but you need to go to Ahsoka. I'll recap Ahsoka. I can tell you what he thought about Ahsoka. So, what's your theories and predictions so far? I'm gonna let you go first. What's your theories and predictions?
So my number one theory is that we're going to see Alan the alien again.
Yeah.
I think that he and because him and Mark had a conversation on the moon. And I think that we're going to see Alan the Alien again teaming up with Mark this time
Mm-hmm.
to defeat to defeat Omni Man. And I think that eventually we're going to get to a point where again, because okay, this whole multiverse thing, if it's one thing that it's taught me, especially like I said, audience, if you have to go back, you have to do your research. But if you go back, you look at X Men Days of Future Past, you look at Crisis on Infinite Earths, um, you look at all these different time uh, comics. It's one common theme, and that is whatever is going to happen, it's going to happen regardless. And I think that eventually So in the finale of season one, we saw Omni Man beat the hell out of Mark. I
Right.
think that
Yeah.
we're going to come to the same point, but in the opposite way. I think that Mark is going to be he's getting stronger, but I think he's going to duel out with Omni Man. But it's going to come to a point where the situation is reversed. I think he's going to be beating the crap out of Omni Man, and he has the choice of whether to finish him off and take him out,
Right.
or let him live. And I think that that's where Mark's, because Omni Man is 100% Vegemite. That's the
Yes.
only thing in his DNA. But Mark is half human, so I
Right.
think that aspect of Mark's humanity is what's going to keep him from, or prevent him from eventually killing or unaliving. I'm sorry, because he's going to eventually prevent from unaliving Army Man.
But it's I'm kind of in the same theory with that, but I want to back up with Cecil.
Hmm.
Um, just because there's something going on with Donald, and Cecil is the consummate secret, keep compartmentalizing information. The left hand
Hmm.
doesn't know what the right hand is doing. He's the keeper of all secrets. He's the keeper of the keys. He knows all everything. And we know from episode or season one that they've been trying to build some type of weapon to take out Omni Man. So I think they're going to make that. I think they're going to actually build it, and it's going to come. Not just Omni Man, but the Viltrumites as a whole. We have not found the Viltrumite kryptonite.
Right.
We don't know that yet. So you would think that if since since Amazon's ripping off everybody and Omni Man is just a dark version of Superman, so we're going to have to find something that
Hmm.
that just mortal humans can use or utilize to kind of at least even the playing field with the Vitruvites. So I think that's coming. But I do agree it's going to come a point where Invincible is going to make a decision to kill my dad
Hmm.
or take out Cecil, and I think that's gonna happen. I think Cecil is not destined for this world, or at least this version of Cecil.
Hmm.
Again, I'm going to go a little dark like you. I think Cecil's going to be dead. Then in
Hmm.
season three, Cecil's going to be back.
I actually think that Donald. See, again, I agree that Cecil. We're not seeing everything. There's a shady side to Cecil. I
Definitely.
think I think that low key Cecil is, like you say, creating a weapon that can rival Army Man. But
Right. Right.
I don't think that that weapon is going to be in the form of an actual weapon itself. I think that that weapon might be an actual like superhero.
Ooh, like a clone version of Omni Man, but programmed with to save Earth.
So
Ooh,
okay, I was piecing this thing together, but again, your son has a very dark, demented mind sometimes. So I think that Donald is actually a clone. I think that the 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 Donald that we saw, Army Man, unalive. I think that he's actually gone. The Donald that we saw at the end of of the episode, I think that's a whole new Donald. But I
yeah,
think that that is a staple within Cecil's organization that he keeps creating these Donalds out of from clones.
right.
Because if you think about it, what's the reason why? Okay, Cecil said in episode, or not episode, he said in season one that he always has tabs on everything around the world.
Yeah,
There's not
everything. Yes,
there's nothing that Cecil isn't aware of. So, you have to think that he's had an eye on the Muller twins this whole time. Every time that they go to prison or every time they break out, Cecil knows exactly where they are. So who's to say that that Cecil didn't take the cloning technology
mm-hmm.
from the Muller twins and then use that into creating a different Donald. And
Right.
then in doing so, you know, um, take either Mark's blood because remember, Mark's been in the hospital. Mark's been in the hospital tons of times, and then not only that, but that after that fight with the Guardians, Omni Man was hospitalized for quite a bit of time. So who's to say that Cecil didn't get some DNA and then start conjuring up his own little either Invincible team or his Defender Omni Man army, his own
Right.
army. Um,
Well,
it's just
just to give you some more backstory. Remember when that fight that happened in the Guardians headquarters? You see the let's just say the crime scene people. They are going taking pieces
yes,
of Omni Man's suit and his
yes,
blood and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think you spot on with that. They have access and they have a lot of DNA to work with. But I like that. I like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay, well, we're getting to this point of um I made this up in Ahsoka, so I'm carrying it forward to here. This scene right here,
Okay.
this scene right here. What scene did it for you right here in episode 1, season 2?
Episode, I mean, the scene that did it for me, um, I think it was the scene where Mark revisited. Again, I'm a son and I'm a dad.
Yeah.
So the scene where Mark went back to the where he fought Omni Man, and it's just the look on his face. It's just
Mm.
like you're torn because it's
Yeah.
like you feel at a loss because you feel like you lost your best friend basically.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Um, all of season one, we've been building up to Mark not having powers to all of a sudden his powers manifested, and then not only that, but then again the time when you have a kid, the time you invest in your kid, you don't realize how much that time becomes incorporated in your DNA. And
Mhm.
but not only does it become incorporated in your DNA as a parent, but for your children, it becomes incorporated into their DNA.
Mhm.
And when Mark went back to the site and saw the blood and the fight the scene where they were fighting
Mhm.
and the look on his face, it gave you a deep sorrow
Yeah.
and for that to happen, and that happened at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
It's not.
It did.
It didn't happen like toward the end, toward even the middle. That's how the season starts out,
Right. Right.
and it's just that was very very impactful because, like I said, for that kind of tragedy to happen from somebody you trust more than anybody.
Mhm.
Of
Your
course
dad. Yeah.
of
Mhm.
course he had his mom, but again, your mom is a population, she's a part of a population of 8 billion people. Whereas for all of Mark's mind, his dad was the only Vitramite. So, and then not only is he the only Vitramite, your dad is Omni Man. So you're just like
Right.
looking
Right.
up to this guy like, he's, the creator himself. And
Right.
just to have all that yanked away from you, I felt that. I felt that. So,
Wow.
um,
Look at you. Look at Phil being super sensitive. Look at Phil being sensitive.
God, man, this,
First
I
word
felt that.
family. Look at Phil being sensitive.
I felt that.
Look.
So
I'm not joking on you. I love it. I love it.
usually I try to find something dark, something funny, but man, just how that just set the tone for the whole rest of the episode because now you go into the episode with a certain mindset.
Right.
You are a little bit more empathetic to Mark's mom. You
Yeah.
are a little bit more empathetic to um, the wife of the speaker. I forgot his
Hmm.
name. His wife. When she came over to visit with
Right. Right.
Mark's
Right.
mom.
Hmm.
You feel empathy for these people, and it's like, Omni Man was this very bad guy, and he deceived us all. But again, that for Mark, that was your dad. That's your dad.
That's
That's
your
your
dad.
dad.
Yeah. That's your
So
dad. Right.
that I know you're going to bring it home because I had a second one, so I want to see where you're going with it. But that was mine. That was mine.
Well, I guess so. As Ahsoka, you were I was the light, you were the dark. So I guess we're gonna reverse it because I'm gonna bring the darkness.
Okay. Okay.
See, what was that? This scene right here was when they were in the alternate universe, and Immortal had Mark by the neck, and then all of a sudden Omni Man came and whoop, and cuts the arm off, and then they start fighting some more, and Omni Man just takes him and goes whoop, and then Mark takes
Mhm.
his head, he grabs Immortal's head and just squishes it. I like,
Mhm.
oh, I was like, oh, I'm like, yeah. So it was dark, but I like hell. If you're gonna be dark, lean into it all the way. And so that right there for me was the scene right here for me.
You got to go all
You
the
got
way.
another one? You got another one?
No, so I have. I always got to throw you a hot take at the end of our episodes. I always got to
Yes.
throw
Well,
you
no.
a hot
Let's go right into high take. Go ahead. Go ahead. What's your high take?
So my hot take is actually a question.
Okay.
So again, I know your answer. I know your answer to this, but what I want to know is, let's just say you were in the position, because actually, if you, for Hot Nurse Sid and I, we are 9 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the only kid for 9 years. So
Mm-hmm.
how would you feel if this was in that realm where you had omnipotent power
Mm-hmm.
and you were the strongest human being on earth, or you're the strongest being on earth, and your kids are developing these powers, but um, you had a, an oath to fill to not only your race, but that's how you were raised. You were raised in a cold, emotionalist environment. How would you? How does okay? How does a dad implore empathy to a kid where the dad doesn't have empathy and doesn't have um, the characteristics to be a good guy? How do you transfer that mindset, those emotions, that thought process into a human being, or into another human being that's your kid? But you have an ulterior motive, not the government, but you have a higher purpose. But you also have to cultivate this young mind. How do you juggle that? How would you
I don't.
juggle that?
I don't think. So going back to episode or season one, remember that he didn't really think, and I think he was hoping Mark did not get any powers
Hmm.
because that moment where he was pounding Mark on the mountainside, he knew it was going to have to come to that. He knew. So I don't think you kill it. I think that's where Omni Man was how strong he is, but I think that what his kryptonite is Mark. I mean, because that made him go against his duty. Remember, he gave a whole dissertation about what Victor might do, and it was his honor to come to be the one who's a guardian of Earth to make it for conquering and all that kind of stuff. But what stopped him was his love and reflection back on Mark. So, rest to your high tech, I think it's impossible.
Mm.
If it was, so if it was me and I was Omni Man, I think I would have done the exact same thing that he did. I mean, you're in a lose situation, so I'm not gonna lose. I'm not gonna lose my kid. So
Right.
let me leave my kid, and I guess I had to deal with the administrative state repercussions. And again, we're assuming that's what he's going to do. He flew back to how you pronounce it? Is it Vitrum or the
Veteran.
Vitrum? Yeah,
Hmm.
authorities, and I guess he just had to suffer the consequences behind it. But I think he proved that Mark is his kryptonite, and because he, like he says, it wasn't a mother, because he said, "Well, I
Right.
just look at her as a pet."
She's a pet. She's a pet. Right.
So that was a cold line right there, man, bruh. All the husbands out there, you can call your lady anything, but you call her a pet. Oh Okay, what about you? So that was your, that answer your question? That
I
answer
did.
your hot take?
It did. It did.
Okay, so let's go with your my hot take is do you isn't Mark really is he following in his father's footsteps? Is because does he recognize, or do you think he recognizes that? Or of course he doesn't. That he's actually taking the first steps to being like his father. Because even this episode, a couple of times, Cecil said, "No, I can't do that." He says, or they said, "Well, that was your father." Said the same thing, and every time he thought about his father, he got angry. So my hot take is that does Mark not understand that he's actually following in his father's footsteps? What about you? Do you think is that a good hot take?
So I don't think that. Actually, I think the exact opposite. I don't think that
Oh,
Mark is following his for the father's footsteps only because, if we're using parallel situations, Mark has a village. He has his girlfriend. He has Eve. He has his mom. He actually, and if you want to be technical, he has Cecil.
mm,
Whereas when Omni Man was growing up, he grew up at Vitrum,
hmm,
and then flew to Earth to be its conqueror, basically.
yeah,
But he didn't have the humbling experiences. And then not only that, but Omni Man had his house from birth.
yeah,
Mark went through his
yeah,
first 17 years with no powers.
right.
And then at the drop of a hat one day, boom, they manifest. So Mark had to do his entire life so far with no powers. And then, but he still have these relationships, best friends, family, that kind of thing, that kind of nature to ground him. So I don't want to say that he's following, I
Okay.
don't think he's following his father's footsteps at all. What I do think that is happening to Mark. I said it earlier. I think the adverse effect is happening on. I think that he's trying so hard to
Hmm.
prove he's not Omni Man that he's developing a lot of Omni Man traits. So
That's what I mean by turning it into I'm in. So you just proved my
okay,
point.
he is trying his hardest not to be Omni Man, but I think in doing so, it's like he's neglecting his human side.
Okay.
He's welcoming his Vitramite side more because that's the most powerful, dominant side. He could do more. That's what it is. He could do more as a Vitramite than he could as a human. As a human, he can't go toe to toe with Immortal. As a human, he can't go toe to toe with the Muller twins or Omni Man or any of the villains that we've seen thus far. But as a Vitramite, he can.
Definitely.
So I do think that I see what you're saying now, where he's dipping onto that side, but I think that that's one side of a two-sided coin.
Coin. Okay, that's fair. So as we end up this episode, um, last again I keep just throwing those plugs in. You guys got to check out Ahsoka. We had at episode ratings, and we came up with this. How many lightsabers did you give it? So Phil, I need some help here, bro. What are we going to? How do you? I don't like doing how many stars
Let's
there
do
is. What
let's
do you want to?
do let's do so if you okay at the title sequence of Invincible, every episode they have a blood splat, a
Right.
splatter of blood. So let's do of the a 1 to 5. What do you call those? Blood spots
Blah,
or
blah, blah. Yeah, yeah.
blood spot.
I love it. I love it. See, I got you. See, audience. This is what we do. That was totally not rehearsed, and that's why Phil brings the thunder. PV brings the thunder. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go first. How many blood splots do you give? 1 to 5, 5 being the top, most blood splots, and one or none being the lowest. So, episode
This
one,
this
what
one
would you give? How many blood spots would you give it?
this one I give it a okay. I give it a good. Let's start. I'm gonna start out. Let's give it a good. I'll give it a good 4. I give it a good
Okay,
4.
so 4 blood spots.
4 blood spots, and the only reason I say 4 is because I think that we have more. I think there's way more meat on this bone to get.
Yes.
Um, So I think that it was a phenomenal opening. Again, the writing. I think every story that's told has, they you can tell any story,
Yeah,
but the writing and be able to get a tangible emotion out of people, I think that that's incredible writing. So I give this episode, the vast majority of my rating comes from the writing itself, being able to pull emotion out through cartoon or animated platform.
right.
I give it a good four,
Okay.
four plus five. So
Okay. Yeah. Look, okay. I'm going to drop some sound effects in that too. Okay. So I'm going to give it 4 blood spots, but on totally different reasons.
okay.
Because I love the action. I love the
Mm,
fighting. I love the explosions. Like I said, I love the Muller twins. And like I said, we again just to reiterate what you said earlier, this whole thing just was a follow up on the last episode in season one. So I give it 4 blood spots also. So,
plus
but
five.
we give it differently. I like that, Phil. Blood spots. Well, Phil, that brings us to the end of this particular recap, season two, episode one of Invincible. We love you guys for tuning in, and my gosh, Phil, I was talking to Hot Sid, and our numbers are climbing steadily, and it's
Nice.
for so we appreciate the audience, chiming in and giving comments. So keep on doing it, like, subscribe, and all that jazz, and don't
And
forget,
make sure you guys,
yeah, go ahead,
I'm
Phil.
sorry. Make sure you guys check out the Hot Nurse Sid. She has a lot of things going on. We have rap, we have rap shit. We have um, Survivor. We have a couple of different episodes.
Basement Bros,
Basement Bros. We have um, Loki just dropped. Oh, it's going to drop soon. So
yeah.
just make sure you guys check out the different platforms we have on Hot Nerd Network.
Yeah, and like I said, just like and get the notification. Click on the bell for the notification so you get notified every time something comes out. So again, this is the Hot Nerd Network, the first word. I'm First Philip,
And I'm PV.
and we will see you next time. Splat, splat, splat.